Agatha All Along reignited witches of the Marvel fandom like its predecessor, WandaVision, and today we'll be talking about the potential season 2. So beware of spoilers. This is your warning, the only warning I will give, as I analyze a few theories and rumors pointing to an Agatha All Along season 2. And this kind of starts off with recapping where we left off with Agatha. You know, WandaVision was a limited series, and Agatha All Along is part of a 3-part trilogy, post WandaVision and pre Vision Quest. I think that Agatha All Along could be watched as a prequel. Like, if you've never seen WandaVision and you're going straight into Agatha All Along, it is possible. I think it's better if you do watch WandaVision first due to the whole Billy timeline arc, but it is possible and understandable to watch Agatha All Along first, especially if that's more your vibe. And in the terms of just villains and more witchy vibes than WandaVision gives, I think WandaVision is great for nostalgia, first of all, because the sitcoms in that show are great, like the sitcom references. But there's so much that you do need to know from WandaVision to fully understand Agatha. But I think when you watch it as a prequel and then watch it again after watching WandaVision, and if you've never even seen like Multiverse of Madness, it's such a great rewatch because it's one of those shows where you're like, oh my gosh, this bitch knew the entire time. She knew this was fake. And it makes Catherine Hahn's acting so good. I don't know how many times I can praise Catherine Hahn for her performance as Agatha. I really do hope she wins all the awards, which we will talk about a little later in this episode. I just think if you haven't watched Agatha and you're listening to this, that's crazy. But I mean, I'm all for jumping into a series midway through to see how we got there, and then I'll rewind back. So you know what? We listen and we don't judge. And I think that is valid due to the writers of Multiverse of Madness. If I'm correct, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they watched WandaVision when going into writing Multiverse of Madness. It might not even be the writers. It might be the producers or directors. I'm not here to shade. I will say from here on out when I have a credible source and who said what and where I find things, because I will be quoting a lot within this episode, because Miss Jack Schaefer, I love her dearly. She was really feeding the girls when it came to Agatha All Along, especially when it came to the post-credit scenes or lack thereof, because in the ending of Agatha All Along, oh my gosh, I almost said WandaVision, but in the ending of Agatha All Along, I'm going to, segue away from the whole prequel question, because the ending itself was good. In my opinion, I didn't personally like Billy, being a brat and trying to banish Agatha. Then suddenly she's like, all right, let's team up. I can be your guide or whatever, because I kind of want Agatha as Wanda's guide more. And I don't think it's possible now, especially because Agatha's now tied to Billy's story so much. I mean, it was Agatha all along, but really, it was Billy all along. He got his own episode in the show, and he was the one that created the road. So there's up that a lot of fans have been rooting for is going to be cathartic, even if they don't do the Young Avengers, but they're kind of building up to it, so I'm hoping on it. Anyway, I know that it was hard for Jack Schaefer to do any kind of post-credit scenes for Agatha All Along. Even WandaVision, she said, it just logistically couldn't happen, where like she wanted Doctor Strange to show up at the end, but due to the bigger projects, you can't really have those kind of big moments. I know with Agatha All Along, she can't really say what happens after, but she wants people to expect more of Billy and Agatha in the MCU. Along with that quote from her, there were some post-credit scenes leaked by user My Time to Shine Hello, and from my research, there were 2 post-credit scenes that were leaked, or quote-unquote leaked, like he let us know. And one of them was that Jennifer Kale, the high priestess, was going to look for the doctor who she thought was going to bind her when she was a midwife in Boston, I believe. Yeah, she was going to look for that doctor, and he would somehow still be alive, despite it being 100 years. And the second post-credit scene would be Rio slash Lady Death following Ghost, Agatha, and Billy after they walk into the light to go find Billy. Which I would have loved because it makes the most sense, with Rio trying to go after Billy for tipping the scales of life and death. In Doctor Strange, they say it is forbidden to possess the body of someone who's dead. And I didn't make that connection until after I had watched Agatha All Along and then rewatched Multiverse of Madness. I was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. But that's what happens, and that's why I genuinely think a rewatch is needed. Anyways, I think we need more Lady Death, and it would have fed more fuel to the fire in terms of Aubrey Plaza appearances, because there's so much lore that could have happened within the show. I understand that there's a lot of things left out, and we'll talk more about that later, but I really want to get into the fan theories and speculations about this, especially because so many people are rooting for more Lady Death, more Agatha, more Billy, and Jack Schaefer, the creator of Agatha All Along, and she also was on the writing team for WandaVision. She honestly needed her own after show after each episode, but she did give us so much in interviews, I think pre the show and post the show. She was almost giving it to us like it was fan fiction and really becoming that fandom sympathizer, especially towards those who ship Agatha and Rio, giving us a lot of background into what she wanted for their character development, their relationship development. I know that in an interview with The Wrap, she said it was hard to speak about if there was going to get a season 2 because there's a lot of awareness of what the hands-off are between different properties, but she is excited about the duo of Billy Maximoff and Ghost Agatha, and there's just so much opportunity there, and I'm really excited for that too, because the concept of Ghost Agatha, I'm glad that she is still active in the MCU, and with this show being so prominent with death and how it is so permanent, even if Marvel say wants Patti LuPone back in an Avengers movie and is like, we're gonna resurrect Patti LuPone, and that kind of defeats the purpose of death. It really felt symbolic to that of grief and just loss, where it's so permanent. But Agatha, being the villain she is going to get away with it and somehow stick it to her ex who hates Ghost and become one. There is so much more opportunity to explore Agatha and Rio's relationship, whether that's post-Ghost Agatha or more flashback scenes, trying to see how they met, with Schaefer saying in a Variety interview, talking about their meet cute, and apparently she said, we had these really pretty visuals of Agatha killing people, and then seeing Rio across the bodies like that, they met over corpses. She saw it in her mind. It was really beautiful. And they also, I want more confirmation of yes, they were together and not just with the Nikki sequence, that this was vital to the story, that it didn't feel like we could flash all the way back to Rio and Agatha before Nikki and then get into Nikki. I know a lot of fans kind of read, is Rio Nikki's father, and ran with it, so it is not fully confirmed. Even if Rio isn't Nikki's father, I do believe that Agatha would be the sole parent to Nikki because he was made from scratch. She said no incantation. She said no spell. I'm saying this quote from memory, by the way. And even if Rio is not Nikki's father, that kid, that actor, looks like Rio or Aubrey Plaza. It's just crazy. And I think that's something that could be explored more, especially if Agatha Harkness, this witch who is just fiending off of power, can somehow seduce and make Lady Death fall in love with her. That needs to be studied. Jack Schaefer, Kevin Feige, let Jack Schaefer study that. Well, she already is technically. In all these interviews, she's going crazy. But we need to study that, and we need to be shown the proof and the evidence. I want to see this cottagecore life. You give us the comics. Somebody make it happen in the way that the Batwoman comics gave us a little Supercorp tease. In the way that Harley Quinn, HBO could do the funniest thing and give us some Supercorp right now. Sorry, I'm on a tangent, and now I probably exposed myself on what I ship and the ships I root for. Once again, we listen and we don't judge. But yeah, it's so much that could be explored, especially after the sympathy that can be found between Billy and Agatha. Even though, once again, Billy is trying to banish her at the end, but kind of forgives her and takes her along the way. He does say some really mean things, like calling her and Rio toxic. I want to see what that it could be labeled toxic, if that makes sense, because there's so much to explore with Agatha's backstory before she has Nikki and after, when she gets the Darkhold. Because why don't we have that? Why don't we have more Darkhold series? I know that once upon a time, Agatha All Along was going through a bunch of name changes, like Darkhold Diaries, and it would have been so cool to get more Darkhold Agatha and just see how she used it in general. Because if Wanda was using that Darkhold to go find her children in other universes, what methods was Agatha using? Not to find Nikki, because if you think about it, she didn't want to face her son. She was already doing too much to really accept facing her son with the Darkhold. I do realize it would have been difficult to focus on Darkhold storylines when we needed to incorporate Billy, because the only time Billy was really in to the Darkhold Agatha moment was when he was a kid, and that was for 2 seconds. Let's be real, those kids leveled up so fast. And while we're on the topic of Billy, that brings me to my next point of season 2. Next point is season 2. If we get a season 2, if at all, would it be about Billy or Agatha? When in reality, we might not even get a season 2. It would just be another show, like the Wiccan series that's been in long time development. And it's even been rumored that it's been turned into a Young Avengers show and not just Wiccan anymore. And that's where we're going to see more Tommy and Billy and have an extension of the WandaVision trilogy, including Vision Quest. It's so much rumors out there. I'm very interested to see how this podcast and all these leaks and rumors will age. Because there's been so much to look back on, especially when Agatha All Along was first announced and released, and people, or those Twitter pages would be like, Aubrey Plaza is playing death, or she's about to have a kid with Agatha, and no one believed her. And look at them now. These are the same accounts that are posting fan speculations of how season 1 is being listed as not a limited series. If you look on Disney Plus, I believe it says it's posted as season 1, but I don't think that's obviously credible at all. But that's just the default for Disney Plus. However, there's been a bunch of nominations that Disney has submitted Agatha All Along for that kind of go into the whole this isn't going to be a limited series theory, because there's a bunch of comedy categories during this upcoming award season that Agatha All Along has been nominated in, including the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards, and even this year's Emmys race. And I'm not sure about these categories specifically, like the comedy category. I don't know if there's criteria where you can't submit it if it is a limited series, but the Television Academy's criteria for what a limited series is states, and I quote, "The program must tell a complete, non-recurring story and not have an ongoing storyline or main characters in subsequent seasons," end quote. And I think that means there's a chance for an Agatha All Along season 2. I'm here to ride the Delulu train while we analyze these rumors. Is this hyping us up, or is this giving us false hope? Who knows? All I know is Agatha's too good of a character to waste, so I'm just here to hype up Agatha as well as Billy. But it was Agatha all along, so I'm here to hype up my girl Catherine Hahn. Let's go. Let's hope she wins that Golden Globe this weekend. If she does it and this episode doesn't age well, that's okay. I was rooting for her the entire time. Along with those nominations, Production Weekly, which is a paid subscription service with a board of editors, so they're kind of known as reliable. They deliver news and updates on film and TV productions, and this is for their bio on social media, which allows you to market, network, and plan sales campaigns, or even find your next job. This is basically, they just show you all these different productions that are upcoming, or basically upcoming. It doesn't matter if it's this week, this year, next year, anything that's just new in the news, they'll post it. And there was 2 issues in December of 2024 that had a lot of interesting theories. That had a lot of fuel to add to the fire. In issue 1431 on December 5th, they listed Agatha All Along season 2. So even if we don't get a season 2 of Agatha All Along, we know that Agatha could have her own series again, and I'm gonna take that, because on December 12th, which I think that was the next week after, I'm not looking at a calendar, they listed Avengers Doomsday on another production, and it had Elizabeth Olsen in it. So we're definitely going to get back the Maximoff family, whether or not Billy wants to claim Wanda as her mother. This is something that, it's a very credible source. I don't think it's super official, because at any moment Marvel can pull the plug. But I think with the impact of the show's popularity, of the fandom Agatha All Along has built and sprung off of WandaVision, especially with the trilogy they're building up towards Vision Quest, it may influence how we see these characters again. And you know what? It might take 3 years, and that's okay, because this show received 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, and as of this recording, it's listed as number 19 on the Marvel Rick shows, which is ranked lower than Cloak and Dagger and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is not crazy to me, because I love both of those shows, and they came first. Like, you can't get away with just, like, shrugging them off like that. We need Quake in Marvel Rivals, by the way. Just gonna put that in there, and I don't know how many times I need to say this in every episode, but I'm gonna say it until she's in the game. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent. I just was rocking some quick matches before I recorded this, so my head's still in the game, as it should be. But Marvel's not Netflix. We may not be able to hashtag save Lucifer our way out of this one with season 2, okay? We can hashtag bring back Agatha All Along season 2 for all we care, but Marvel may not listen. They have a plan. The way that Kang looks at the timeline, Kevin Feige does too. And I know that on the House of R podcast, Schaefer said she didn't anticipate the clamoring for the chemistry between Aubrey and Catherine, or even Aubrey Plaza's presence, even though she knew it was going to be strong and very well received. I don't know if she thought it was going to be well received, but she knew it was going to be powerful in itself. And I love that she recognized that. I love that she recognized the queer media behind it, the impact, which is great, because that's something we've never seen before in Marvel. And you got to appreciate the leaps that she took for this show and for these characters and her adaptation of it all, because I think it attributes to the show's popularity immensely. I think I'm just an Agatha Rio fan with a microphone and this silly little podcast who wants more Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn scenes. And if Marvel can't give it to me, then that's okay. I'll take it anywhere else. Give us the rom-com. Somebody out there. Make it happen. Give us the Catherine Hahn, Aubrey Plaza love team. Who knows? Anyways, that's my thoughts on it. Besides that love story, I would love to explore more of Agatha's backstory with the Darkhold. That really needs to be prioritized, because who doesn't want to know more about what the Darkhold does and how it corrupts you? I feel like we just see it as this thing, and it's corrupting you, but never to the fullest extent besides Wanda becoming batshit scary in Multiverse of Madness. But Schaefer did say to Zavi, and I quote, "I don't know what Agatha's future is, but I do know that everything I've made, I wanted to feel satisfying and emotionally complete for the audience," which I think that season 1 definitely did. And as long as Marvel keeps Schaefer on the retainer, she can continue making these emotional stories feel satisfying and emotionally complete to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm so glad that we could sit down, stand up, wherever you are listening to this, to break down, the ending of Agatha All Along and what could have been with the end credit scenes, how we talked about the fan speculations or rumors, from productions to hopes, and quoted so much Jack Schaefer that I think I wanted her in my... that I want her in my Dream Blood rotation. I would love to hear her thoughts while we smoking a J. So thank you for listening. I'm all ears for your predictions and theories on what's next for the show, Agatha, the Billy storyline, everything. Tune in next time when I dive in more into the Marvel Rivals comic storyline, and I'm talking about the Marvel Rivals Infinity comic, not the in-game comics that you have to unlock. I will touch on those briefly, but I think I want to save those for another episode. I hope you have a good day, good night, good evening, good weekend, everything. Goodbye.